In the northern reaches of Botswana, where the Okavango Delta's lifeblood meets the influence of the Chobe River, lies a territory of profound ecological drama, the Savuti. This is not a kingdom of static borders or predictable rule, but a fluid empire governed by a force more potent than any predator, water. At its heart is the Savuti Channel, an enigmatic waterway with a history of appearing and disappearing for decades at a time, its flow dictated by subtle tectonic shifts occurring hundreds of miles away. When the channel flows, as it has in recent years, it breathes life into a landscape that was once defined by thirst. It transforms the vast sandy basin into a realm of temporary paradise, feeding the Savuti Marsh, a sprawling wetland that becomes the epicenter of a continent's pulse, drawing in vast congregations of wildlife. The air itself changes, losing its dry, dusty edge and taking on the thick, humid scent of wet earth and crushed vegetation. During these seasons of plenty, the landscape is a vibrant mosaic of habitats, a testament to the life-giving power of the returning water. The floodplains erupt in a sea of nutritious grasses, their green expanse a stark contrast to the Kalahari sands that lie beneath. Towering giraffes, serene and silent, move like ships on this grassy ocean, their immense height giving them a perspective no other creature can claim. They browse the high branches of the camelthorn acacias, their long, prehensile tongues delicately plucking the most tender leaves, largely untroubled by the dramas unfolding below. The surrounding terrain is a complex mix of dense mopane woodland, Colophospermum mopane, which thrives on the region's clay-heavy soils, and looser sandveld communities dominated by the silver terminalia, Terminalia sericea, and the Kalahari appleleaf, Phalaenoptera nelsii. The air in these woodlands is filled with the distinctive, almost conversational calls of yellow-billed hornbills, their large beaks clacking as they forage for insects and fruit. Throughout these woodlands, the skeletal forms of long-dead trees stand as silent monuments, relics of past dry spells when they grew tall in a parched land, only to be submerged by the channel's unpredictable return. This rich and varied tapestry of flora supports an equally impressive diversity of fauna, creating the perfect stage for some of Africa's most intense and compelling wildlife interactions. It is in this time of abundance, when the marsh is full and the grazing is endless, that the ruling dynasty of this wetland empire consolidates its power. The Marsh Pride of Lions, a formidable social unit honed by generations of survival, holds dominion here. At its core is a sisterhood of related lionesses, their lives interwoven by blood and shared purpose. Their leader is the experienced matriarch, Kali. Her existence is dedicated to a single all-consuming goal, the perpetuation of pride. It is a burden she shares with her sisters, daughters and nieces, their collective strength forming the engine of the pride's success. Protecting them and siring the next generation is the resident male, Mako. He is the embodiment of power, a formidable presence whose sheer physical might and deep resonant roars serve as a bulwark against the constant pressure from outside challengers. His roar is more than a sound. It is a declaration of ownership that rolls across the plains at dawn, a warning to any who would dare trespass.
Mako's roar is a statement of intent, but the pride's true foundation is the unbreakable bond of the lionesses. He is a temporary king, a guardian whose reign is measured in seasons. They are the permanent dynasty, the river of blood that flows through generations. His power is a shield for their legacy, but it's a shield he must defend every single day.
The daily routine of the marsh pride during the wet season is one of disciplined opportunism. The marsh and its surrounding grasslands teem with migratory herds of zebra, wildebeest and buffalo drawn from across the arid plains to the promise of plentiful water and lush grazing. For Kali and the other lionesses, the hunt is a focused, cooperative effort, a ballet of silent communication and explosive force. They use the cover of darkness or the tall grasses of the marsh, fanning out to encircle their chosen target. The stalk is a masterclass in patience, every muscle coiled, every sense alert. A flick of an ear or a subtle shift in posture is all it takes to signal the final charge. Their success in bringing down a powerful wildebeest or a stampeding buffalo feeds not only themselves and the formidable male, but also the pride's most vital asset, a new generation of cubs. These small spotted creatures, hidden deep within a dense thicket, represent the future of the dynasty, the soldiers and hunters of the coming lean times. Their survival is paramount, the ultimate measure of the pride's prosperity. The apparent tranquility of this season, however, is deceptive. The fact of the matter is this season is not a period of rest, but one of critical strategic investment. In the economy of Savuti, abundance is a debt, and the bill always comes due. The surplus energy gained from the abundance of prey is not squandered on leisure, it is meticulously channeled into long-term survival strategies. Social bonds, the very fabric of their cooperative strength, are reinforced through hours of communal rest and attentive grooming, the rough tongues rasping away flies and reinforcing hierarchies. The cubs are not merely fed, they are educated. Their seemingly carefree play, pouncing on their mother's tail, wrestling with their siblings, is a classroom where they hone the essential skills of stalking, chasing and fighting. These are lessons that will one day mean the difference between life and sustenance. The hunting lionesses build and maintain their muscle and stamina, their bodies becoming finely tuned instruments of the chase. Mako the king conserves his strength resting in the shade, reserving his immense power for the ferocious territorial contests that will inevitably intensify as resources dwindle. Every full belly is a deposit against the coming famine, a foundation upon which the pride's very survival through the dry season will be built. But every kingdom has its shadows, and a different queen is watching. On the periphery of the lion's dominion, another power operates, governed by a different philosophy and a different social code. This is the realm of the spotted hyena, and its queen is the formidable matriarch, Fura. To view her clan as mere scavengers, skulking in the shadows and waiting for leftovers, is to fundamentally misunderstand their position in the intricate political landscape of the Savuti ecosystem. The spotted hyena, Crocuta crocuta, is the most common large carnivore in Botswana, a highly successful and profoundly intelligent predator in its own right. They are not pretenders to the throne, they are a rival superpower waiting for their moment. Hyena society is a complex matriarchal structure, its social intricacies more akin to those of Cercopithecine primates like baboons than to other carnivores. The clan is a whirlwind of social politics led by a dominant female. Fura holds this position not just through brute strength, but through a web of alliances and a keen social intelligence cultivated over a lifetime of interaction. She is physically larger and more powerful than any male in her clan, a complete reversal of the norm seen in most mammals. The males exist in a state of perpetual submission. Their rank in the hierarchy is fluid and always secondary to the established female lineage. Communication within the clan is constant and nuanced, a series of whoops, giggles and groans that carry complex information across the plains, mapping the movements of prey and rivals alike. Their calls are the soundtrack of the African night, a complex language of location, excitement and challenge. Fura's clan thrives on adaptability. While they are consummate opportunists, possessing jaws powerful enough to make short work of the largest of bones and a digestive system that can process hide and splintered skeletons, they're also formidable hunters. They're capable of hunting in coordinated groups to course down and overpower prey as large as adult wildebeest, their exceptional endurance in the chase often exceeding that of their feline rivals. During the wet season, with migratory prey abundant, they may focus on more stationary targets like scattered warthogs digging for roots or the young of the impala herds. But their gaze and their ambition are never far from the lions. The rivalry between lions and hyenas is ancient and visceral, a direct and unceasing competition for the same resources. This conflict is particularly intense in the compressed ecosystem of Savuti, a dynamic famously chronicled by filmmakers and researchers who have witnessed its unforgiving nature firsthand. A single hyena instinctively fears a full-grown male lion like Mako, whose sheer power can be overwhelming in a direct confrontation. However, a large, coordinated clan like Fura's will readily harass lone or small groups of lionesses, attempting to steal the prize from their hard-fought hunt through a relentless campaign of intimidation.
People see a hyena and think scavenger. They're missing the point. Fura's clan isn't waiting for a handout. They're running an intelligence agency. Their giggle isn't laughter. It's a complex broadcast of information. This isn't a simple fight for food. It's a Cold War fought with strategy, numbers, and a social intelligence that is as profound as it is misunderstood.
Make no mistake, Fura's strategy is one of patience, observation, and meticulous calculation. Her power is not built on the same foundation of overwhelming force that defines Mako's rule. A direct, symmetrical confrontation with the marsh pride in its prime would be costly, a foolish expenditure of energy and lives. Instead, the hyena's competitive strategy is asymmetrical. They leverage their superior numbers, their seemingly inexhaustible endurance, and their tight social cohesion against the lion's individual strength. Fura's domain is one of information. Her clan's success depends on knowing the lion's movements, their hunting patterns, and most importantly, their moments of vulnerability. The daily routine of the clan is a continuous exercise in intelligence gathering, patrolling territory boundaries, scent marking with potent olfactory signals, and listening, always listening, for the sounds of a hunt, the frantic calls of distressed prey, or the telltale circling of vultures that signals a recent prize. They are constantly probing the lion's defenses, testing their resolve, waiting for an opening, a moment when Mako is absent or when the lionesses are exhausted and outnumbered after a difficult and draining hunt. Fura's power is not measured in muscle, but in mind. She is building her army and biding her time, for she knows better than anyone that the balance of power in Savuti is as ephemeral as the water in the channel. Beyond the grand politics of the plains, a solitary life hangs by a thread. Away from the grand political struggles of the lions and hyenas, a different kind of existence unfolds, one defined by solitude, stealth, and perpetual vigilance. This is the world of the leopard Safi. She is the most elusive of Savuti's great predators, a ghost in the woodlands and the rocky granite outcrops known as kopjes that punctuate the landscape like ancient sleeping beasts. Her power is not derived from force or social cooperation, but from her profound ability to remain unseen, to melt into the dappled light and shadows of the bush. As a solitary hunter, Safi's life is a masterpiece of risk management. She cannot rely on the brute strength of a pride or the overwhelming numbers of a clan. Her survival depends entirely on ambush and stealth, her beautifully spotted coat providing near-perfect camouflage against the sun-dappled leaf litter and the lichen-covered bark of the trees. She stalks smaller prey. The nimble steenbok whose delicate tracks betray its presence, or the shy duiker that darts through the undergrowth. A hunt is a slow, methodical process of closing the distance inch by silent inch until she can launch a final explosive burst of speed. But her solitude is both her greatest strength and her most profound weakness. While it allows her to operate largely undetected by her larger, more dangerous rivals, it also means she has no allies, no one to watch her back, no one to help defend a meal. This precarious balance is thrown into sharp relief by the immense demands of motherhood. For a leopardess, raising cubs in this landscape is an act of extraordinary dedication in a world fraught with peril at every turn. Safi must leave her young hidden for hours, sometimes days, while she embarks on the solitary, dangerous business of hunting. Her den is a carefully chosen sanctuary, a dense thicket impenetrable to larger bodies, a deep crevice within the ancient granite of a kopje, or a dark cavern hidden from the sky. Anything to conceal her vulnerable offspring from the ever-watchful eyes and keen noses of lions and hyenas. Every hunt is a gamble against time and a test of nerve. The longer she is away, the greater the risk that her scent trail will be crossed, or her cub's faint whimpers will be heard by a passing predator. The reality on the ground for leopard cubs is grim, a stark testament to the harshness of their world. In southern Africa, even within the relative safety of protected areas like Savuti, the odds are stacked against them. Other predators, especially lions and hyenas, will remove a future competitor without a second thought. Rival male leopards also pose a threat, driven by instinct to clear the way for their own lineage. The loss of Safi's own daughter, a profound and unseen drama that played out in the silent heart of the bush, is not an anomaly. It is a reflection of the unforgiving odds against her from the moment of birth. Safi's existence offers a crucial counter-narrative to the dynastic ambitions of the lions and the strategic patience of the hyenas. For her, their empire is not a kingdom to be conquered, but a hostile environment to be navigated with infinite care. Her success is not measured by the size of her territory, but by her ability to move through the territories of others without being noticed. Her world is a complex mental map of safe havens, escape routes, primarily the strong, climbable trees where she can secure her meals and find refuge from her powerful rivals, and concealed hunting grounds where she can operate in secret. She represents a third distinct survival strategy in Savuti. It is not the overwhelming force of the marsh pride, nor the cooperative intelligence of Fura's clan, but the calculated, high-stakes existence of a solitary specialist. Her story is not about ruling the empire, but about outwitting it, one silent, careful step at a time. Beneath the high drama of the great predators, a different kind of power moves through the Savuti bush, a low-slung, black and white battering ram animated by sheer indomitable will. This is the realm of the honey badger. It is an animal that does not subscribe to the rules of empires. It possesses neither the leopard's patient stealth nor the lion's overwhelming force. Its primary survival tool is a legendary, almost pathological fearlessness. Its reputation travels before it like a storm front. The honey badger is a living lesson in asymmetrical warfare. Its thick, rubbery hide is so loose that if seized by a predator, it can turn and bite its attacker from within its own skin. Its powerful shovel-like claws are not weapons of the hunt so much as they are excavation tools used to tear into the ground in pursuit of beetle larvae, scorpions and rodents, or to rip apart the formidable nests of termites. It is a relentless forager, its keen sense of smell guiding it through a world of hidden opportunities. Its most famous quarry is the serpent. It will unhesitatingly attack and consume some of the region's most venomous snakes, its physiology granting it a remarkable resistance to their toxins. This solitary belligerence, however, conceals a capacity for one of Savuti's most remarkable partnerships. The badger often enters into a unique, cooperative relationship with the greater honey guide, a small, unassuming bird. The bird, unable to break into a beehive on its own, will lead the badger with a specific chattering call to a nest it has located. The badger, protected by its thick skin from the stings, then tears the hive apart with its powerful claws, feasting on the rich larvae and honey within. In the aftermath, the honey guide is rewarded with the beeswax and grubs left behind. It is a rare instance of mutualism, a fragile truce in a world of conflict. For an animal defined by its refusal to yield, what does this alliance say about the complex, hidden negotiations that underpin all life in this landscape? The wet season's bounty is a fleeting gift, a brief chapter in Savuti's epic cycle. As the months pass, the African sun intensifies its glare and the life-giving rains cease. The dry season, typically lasting from May to October, begins to assert its dominance over the landscape. The transformation is profound and relentless. The Savuti Channel, which had transformed the region into a verdant marsh, now begins its slow, inexorable retreat. The water level drops daily. The floodplains that were once shimmering sheets of water dry out, crack, and turn to dust. The lush grasses, once green and succulent, turn to brittle golden stalks that whisper in the hot wind. The land itself seems to hold its breath, entering a period of deep and profound austerity. This dramatic environmental shift triggers an equally dramatic change in the distribution of life. The vast migratory herds of zebra and wildebeest, which had formed the very cornerstone of the predator's diet, can no longer sustain themselves on the parched and nutrient-poor plains. Following an ancient instinctual map etched into their collective consciousness, they begin their great exodus. They move in their thousands, a river of life flowing out of the region, heading north toward the permanent waters of the Linyanti River system or south into the vast interior plains. Their journey can cover hundreds of miles, a testament to their desperate search for survival. Their departure empties the larder of the Savuti. For the predators left behind, this is a time of immense pressure. The remaining animals, impalas, warthogs, and kudus, become increasingly wary and concentrated around the few shrinking waterholes. And here, in these last refuges, a new and ancient power makes its presence felt with terrifying authority. Nile crocodiles, some of them living relics older than any lion on the plains, become concentrated in the muddy, shrinking pools. Their menacing stillness, with only their eyes and nostrils breaking the surface, adds a new layer of danger to the simple act of drinking. They are masters of the ambush, an ancient, patient form of predation, a constant threat waiting just below the surface for any animal, large or small, to let its guard down. Faced with starvation, the lions of Savuti have, over many generations, developed a remarkable and perilous tradition. They have learned to hunt elephants. These are not random acts of desperation, but highly specialized, coordinated assaults that require immense courage, strength, and teamwork. They are almost always a nocturnal affair, a strategy that exploits the elephant's poorer night vision and the lion's superior ability to see in the dark. The pride does not target the massive adult bulls, whose size and power make them virtually invincible, or the watchful and aggressive matriarchs who fiercely defend their families. Instead, they focus their efforts on the most vulnerable members of the herd, the sub-adults, typically those between the tender ages of 4 and 11 years. These younger elephants, weaned but not yet fully integrated into the defensive structure of the herd, are more susceptible to being isolated and panicked. The hunt itself is a spectacle of immense power and calculated coordination. Success hinges entirely on the pride's collective effort. The lionesses, more agile and numerous, typically initiate the attack. They storm a small group of elephants with explosive ferocity, their goal to create chaos and panic, to separate a single, terrified individual from the safety of its family. Several lionesses will then attempt to leap onto the elephant's back, their claws digging in for purchase as they bite relentlessly at the spine, their combined weight acting as a living anchor, working to slow the powerful animal down. Others may latch onto the hind legs, adding to the burden. The objective is singular, to unbalance and overpower the giant. Once the elephant is subdued, the final act can feed the entire pride for several days, a crucial lifeline in this unforgiving time of famine. This dramatic shift in predatory behavior underscores the immense ecological pressure exerted by the drying of the channel, forcing the rulers of the marsh into a dangerous new weight class.
The first time you see lions on an elephant, the world goes silent. It's a violation of natural law, but it's not malice, it's desperation. The dry channel rewrites the rules. The lions aren't just hunting an elephant. They are hunting a mountain that moves. It is the ultimate test of their courage, born from the ultimate hardship of the land.
This environmental shift forces every predator to rewrite its rules for survival, and the contrast between their strategies is stark. In the seasons of plenty, the marsh pride grows powerful on a diet of migratory zebra, wildebeest and buffalo, a seemingly endless bounty. But as the plains empty, they are forced into this dangerous new specialization. Their prey base shifts to the resident buffalo that cling to the last waterholes and most perilously to young elephants. This move is a learned, high-risk cultural adaptation, a desperate gamble that pits the pride against the largest land animals on Earth and pushes the very limits of what it means to be a lion. The hyenas, however, play a different game. While lions are forced into a dangerous specialization, Fura's clan doubles down on their core strength, relentless opportunism. Their wet season diet of resident game and scavenged meals gives way to a dry season strategy of outright conflict. Their superior endurance and bone-crushing jaws become prime assets in a landscape of scarcity and tough carcasses. The theft of meals becomes their primary tactic, shifting their focus from simple predation to a war of attrition against their exhausted rivals. And for a solitary hunter like the leopard Safi, the rules change yet again. Lacking the strength of a pride or a clan, her survival has always depended on stealth and a varied diet of smaller prey. As the dry season intensifies, her opportunism is pushed to its extreme. She will hunt anything available, rodents, birds, even fish trapped in the last muddy pools. But this brings her into greater conflict, forcing her to contend with a higher concentration of dangerous competitors at every scarce water source. For her, stealth is no longer just a hunting technique, it is the paramount principle of survival. These divergent paths illustrate a fundamental truth. The dry season is a crucible, relentlessly testing the adaptive limits of every creature. For the marsh pride, it is a dangerous gamble against giants that will determine the fate of their empire. But for other lions, isolated from the pride's collective strength, the hardship is even more severe. And for one queen to the north, the hardship is compounded by a king's betrayal. While the marsh pride faces the challenge of a dwindling food supply and the immense risk of hunting elephants, another drama unfolds to the north, upstream along the channel's desiccated course. Here, the northern pride, led by the lioness Asha, clings to a precarious existence. Lion societies are not immutable monarchies, they are fluid, dynamic entities that split and merge in response to resource availability and internal social pressures. Asha's pride is likely a splinter group, a faction pushed out of the prime real estate of the Great Marsh and forced into a more marginal territory with fewer resources and greater uncertainty. Her story is one of abandonment. The formidable male Mako, once her consort and the father of her sons, has shifted his allegiance and his precious genetic investment to Kali and the more prosperous Marsh Pride. This is not a decision born of emotion or fickle loyalty, but of a cold, hard evolutionary calculus. A male lion must invest his energy where his offspring have the greatest chance of survival. Asha is left to raise her 6 sons alone, a monumental task for a small, struggling pride. But her hardship is about to be compounded by a cruel twist of fate. As her sons approach their breeding age, their growing size and strength transform them from assets into liabilities in the eyes of their own father. Mako returns to his former territory not for a reunion, but for a reckoning. In the unforgiving world of lions, there is no room for sentiment when it comes to the preservation of a bloodline. Young males are invariably driven from their birth pride to prevent inbreeding and remove future competition for the resident males. Mako's actions are a preemptive strike. His sons with Asha represent a potential future challenge to his own dominance and, more importantly, to the survival of his new cubs with Kali. He cannot and will not tolerate their presence. He will either overpower them in a swift, ferocious confrontation or, as is more common with subadults, exile them from his kingdom. They are forced into the perilous life of a nomad, a period of immense vulnerability where the odds of survival are extraordinarily low. They must now navigate a hostile world filled with rival males and established prides with no territory to call their own. This harsh reality is a core principle of lion society. When new males take over a pride, they have a grim but powerful reproductive strategy. They will remove any dependent cubs from the previous regime. This act prompts the lionesses to become receptive once more, allowing the new rulers to begin their own dynasty without delay within the very limited 2 to 3 year window of their typical reign. Mako's expulsion of his own sons is the ruthless extension of this same principle. He is pruning his own family tree to protect his primary genetic investment. The family drama of abandonment and exile is, in fact, a stark and clear-eyed demonstration of resource allocation and competitive exclusion, the fundamental, unsentimental forces that shape lion reproductive strategy. Into this unraveling world, a different kind of family appears. As the established powers of Savuti, the lions and the hyenas grapple with the mounting pressures of the dry season, a different kind of contender appears on the fringes of the empire. They are a small pack of African wild dogs, also known as painted wolves for their uniquely patterned coats, led by the alpha pair, Zola and Rask. They are not conquerors seeking a throne, but refugees navigating a dangerous landscape. Their lives are a testament to the power of cooperation and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. The African wild dog, Lycaon pictus, is one of the continent's most endangered large carnivores. With an estimated population of only a few thousand adults remaining in the wild, their continued existence hangs by a thread. Botswana, with its vast unfenced protected areas, serves as a crucial stronghold, harbouring a significant portion of the world's remaining population. Yet even here in this relative sanctuary, their life is one of constant movement and imminent threat. Wild dogs are nomadic by nature, requiring immense home ranges that can span hundreds of square miles. This roaming lifestyle makes them highly vulnerable to habitat fragmentation and brings them into frequent, often consequential conflict with humans and other predators. The survival strategy of the wild dog is built on a foundation of unparalleled social cohesion. The pack is an extended family revolving around a dominant alpha pair, in this case Zola and Rask, who are typically the only members to breed. However, the immense responsibility of raising the pups is a communal one. The entire pack participates in a display of altruism rarely seen in the animal kingdom. Subordinate members act as dedicated hunters and vigilant babysitters. They have a unique and remarkable practice of allowing the vulnerable pups to eat first at a hunt, with adults often regurgitating meat to feed the young, the nursing alpha female, and any sick or injured pack mates. This radical cooperation is the social glue that holds their fragile society together. As hunters, they are specialists in endurance. Unlike the ambush tactics of cats, wild dogs are coursers, relentlessly pursuing their prey, primarily medium-sized antelope like impala, over long distances. They work as a perfectly synchronized team, communicating with subtle postures and a complex series of high-pitched calls, their teamwork honed to a fine art. Their hunts have an astonishingly high success rate, making them one of the most efficient predators in Africa. Despite their hunting prowess, they live a life on the edge, occupying the dangerous, unclaimed spaces between the territories of their more powerful competitors. Lions are their mortal enemies, removing them not for food but to eliminate competition whenever the opportunity arises. Spotted hyenas, with their superior numbers and strength, frequently harass them and steal their hard-won meals. For Zola and Rusk's small pack, survival in the lion and hyena-dominated landscape of Savuti is a matter of constant vigilance, speed and avoidance. Their presence adds another layer of complexity to the empire, demonstrating that brute dominance is not the only path to survival. Where lions possess overwhelming force and leopards have perfected stealth, the wild dogs have evolved social synergy. Their pack functions as a single superorganism, and their fierce loyalty to one another is not a sentimental choice, but a fundamental requirement for survival. At the end of the day, the loss of even a few members can compromise the hunting efficiency and the long-term viability of the entire pack, making every life precious and every threat existential, and it is about to be tested like never before.
A wild dog pack is a masterclass in radical cooperation. The pups eat first, the sick are cared for. It's a social contract that defies the brutal selfishness we see elsewhere. But that same altruism is their vulnerability. They are a delicate chain of loyalty in a world of iron-fisted rivals. To lose one link is to risk the entire chain shattering.
Now, as the lions weaken, the patient Queen of Shadows makes her move. As the dry season reaches its zenith, the sun beats down relentlessly on a baked and barren landscape. The ecological balance of the Great Marsh, once so firmly in the lion's favour, now tilts dramatically. The marsh pride, weakened by hunger and the immense physical toll of hunting elephants, becomes vulnerable. This is the moment Fura, the hyena queen, has been waiting for. Her strategy of patience, observation and calculated risk is about to pay its dividend. The dry season, a time of profound hardship for the lions, is a time of golden opportunity for the hyenas. Their legendary stamina, their less specialized diet, and their unique ability to derive sustenance from dry bone and tough hide give them a distinct and decisive advantage in this harsh environment. Fura's clan, now bolstered by the survival of a new generation of recruits, has the numbers and the confidence to mount a direct challenge. This is no longer about snatching scraps from the periphery or harassing a lone lioness. This is a strategic campaign to usurp the rulers of the marsh. The hyenas' offensive is a war of attrition, fought over every large carcass the lions manage to bring down. They employ a tactic known as mobbing, a display of collective power and psychological warfare. The clan coordinates its actions, swarming the site of the hunt with a cacophony of intimidating whoops, growls, and their infamous unsettling cackles. They launch daring, darting attacks designed to unnerve and overwhelm the beleaguered lions, testing their resolve and exploiting their exhaustion. While a prime male lion like Mako remains a formidable obstacle, an island of furious power, the lionesses, often drained and injured from the hunt, cannot always withstand the relentless pressure from a large and determined hyena clan. Every major prize becomes a focal point for the entire scavenger guild of Savuti, a noisy, chaotic assembly governed by a strict and unforgiving hierarchy. At the apex are the lions, the primary predators. Just below them are the spotted hyenas, the only competitors capable of challenging them directly. When these two titans clash, their intense conflict creates opportunities for the lower tiers. Cunning black-backed jackals and powerful monitor lizards patrol the edges of the fray. their eyes constantly assessing the situation. They dart in with lightning speed to snatch what they can amidst the confusion, their survival dependent on their ability to exploit the chaos created by their superiors. Overhead, another hierarchy plays out against the pale, dusty sky. Vultures, with their exceptional eyesight, are often the first to spot the signs of a successful hunt from miles away. They spiral down from incredible heights, their descent signaling the location to all who can see. They gather in the trees in a growing vortex of anticipation, but they too must wait their turn. Different species are equipped for different tasks. The large and powerful lappet-faced vultures, with their strong hooked beaks, are often required to act as can openers, tearing open the tough hide of a large animal. Their actions grant access to the softer tissues inside for other, less powerful species like the numerous white-backed vultures. Finally, the smaller and more delicate hooded vultures move in to pick at the final scraps, ensuring that the carcass is cleaned almost to the bone. The contest between the lions and hyenas is more than just a struggle for dominance. It is the engine that drives the entire scavenger economy of Savuti. The conflict shatters the lion's monopoly on large prizes, breaking down carcasses and distributing a vital source of protein and fat throughout the food web, sustaining a multitude of other species. Fura's offensive is in effect a hostile takeover that paradoxically provides a crucial ecosystem service. It is an ecological tipping point made visible, the moment where the hyena's strategy of patient intelligence and superior social cooperation begins to overcome the lion's strategy of individual brute force. Her victory, even if temporary, is a powerful demonstration that in this unforgiving environment, adaptability and collective action can be more powerful than individual might. Yet just as the internal war reaches its peak, a far greater threat emerges from the wilderness. Just as the marsh pride is reeling from the relentless pressure of the hyenas and the gnawing, ever-present reality of starvation, a new and far more existential threat emerges from the wilderness. A coalition of nomadic male lions appears on the borders of the territory. The life of a nomad is one of perpetual striving, a constant, desperate search for a territory to claim and a pride to conquer. Their sole biological purpose is to overthrow the incumbent rulers and establish their own genetic dynasty. To achieve this, they form powerful coalitions, often with brothers or cousins, because larger groups have a significantly higher chance of success in the ferocious, high-stakes world of pride takeovers. The history of Africa's lion populations is filled with the legends of such groups, whose intense campaigns carved out vast territories. In Savuti, a similar force is at play. A powerful new coalition has arrived on the scene. Their target is singular and clear: Mako and his dominion over the rich prize of the marsh pride. The confrontation is inevitable, and when it comes, it is swift and merciless. The intruders announce their presence with deep, resonant roars that travel for miles across the dry plains, a direct and unambiguous challenge to the resident king. The ensuing contest is a brutal test of strength, endurance, and will. It is a whirlwind of claws and teeth, a chaotic explosion of ferocity where a single misstep or a moment's hesitation can lead to a definitive outcome. Mako, already weakened by the hardships of the dry season and now facing a united, determined front of younger, stronger rivals, is ultimately overwhelmed. His reign comes to a swift and conclusive end. With the king deposed, the new males turn their attention to the pride itself. Their first act is a grim necessity of their conquest. They carry out their powerful reproductive strategy, removing all the young dependent cubs from the previous regime. This is not an act of wanton cruelty, but a behavior driven by a powerful and inescapable evolutionary logic. By removing the offspring of their predecessor, they not only eliminate a genetic rival's lineage, but, crucially, they bring the nursing lionesses back into a receptive state. This allows the new kings to begin siring their own heirs immediately, maximizing their chances of success within the short 2 to 3 year tenure they can typically expect to hold the pride before they too are challenged by the next generation of nomads. For Kali and the other lionesses, it is a moment of profound tragedy and a terrible pragmatic choice. They may attempt to defend their cubs in a desperate and often futile act of maternal courage, putting their own lives at great risk. But ultimately, they are powerless against the new regime. Their only viable long-term option is to submit, to accept the new rulers. The pride takeover is a biological coup d'etat, a forcible change in the government of their society. The removal of the cubs is the new regime's grim but essential policy to consolidate its power and secure its legacy. This single, intense event fundamentally reshapes the pride's genetic future. It is a harsh and efficient mechanism of natural selection, ensuring that only the strongest and most capable male coalitions pass on their genes, constantly testing and refreshing the vitality of the species. The personal tragedy for Kali is an integral and unavoidable part of the long-term evolutionary saga of the lion. In the dust of a fallen kingdom, every survivor pays a terrible price. The climax of the dry season leaves a landscape of survivors, each bearing the deep and lasting scars of the crucible. The empire has been fractured, its ruling powers have been tested to their absolute limits, and the terrible cost of endurance is etched into the story of every major player in this drama. For Asha, the abandoned Queen of the North, the season has been one of unmitigated and heartbreaking loss. Her sons, the hope of her lineage, were driven into the perilous life of nomads by their own father, and their fate is unknown. Her pride, now a mere shadow of its former self, and without the critical protection of a resident male, is dangerously vulnerable to every threat that roams the plains. She is reduced to the most desperate of strategies, scavenging. She must now follow the sounds of conflict and the circling of vultures, hoping to glean enough sustenance from the leftovers of others to feed her few remaining loyal followers. Her royal lineage now depends on the charity of carrion. For Safi, the solitary leopard, the price has been the loss of half her future. One of her 2 precious cubs has vanished without a trace, a silent victim of the innumerable dangers that stalk a den left unattended in this hostile land. Her existence is now a heightened state of anxiety, her focus narrowed to a single desperate point, the survival of her one remaining son. The maternal dilemma she faces each day is sharpened to a razor's edge. To stay and guard him means they both risk starvation. To leave and hunt is to risk losing everything she has left. Her ingenuity is pushed to its absolute limits, forcing her to exploit any available food source, even the fish trapped in the last muddy pools of a drying waterhole, a testament to the supreme adaptability required of a solitary survivor in a world of giants. For Zola and Rask, the alpha pair of the painted wolf pack, the dry season has delivered a devastating blow. They have lost half of their litter of pups, a casualty of predation or starvation. For a species as intensely social and as critically endangered as the wild dog, this is a catastrophe of the highest order. Their cooperative hunting model and their long-term viability depend entirely on numbers. A large, healthy pack can hunt more efficiently and defend its meals more effectively from hyenas. The loss of so many pups severely compromises the pack's future, a stark and painful reminder of their fragile status in an ecosystem dominated by larger, more powerful predators. And for the marsh pride, the very heart of the empire, the toll has been the most dramatic and complete. Their dynasty has been overthrown. Their cubs are gone, innocent victims of the new regime's consolidation of power. Their queen Kali has been forced to submit to new kings, yet in her submission lies the seed of resilience. By accepting the new males, she ensures her own survival and the continuation of the pride itself. She will begin the cycle of life anew, under a different, more powerful banner. The empire has not fallen. Its leadership has simply changed hands in a merciless but necessary transition. The endless political saga of the Savuti continues, written in perseverance and dictated by the unyielding laws of survival. But an empire is more than its king, and the true ruler of Savuti always returns. After months of relentless heat and suffocating dust, a subtle change comes to the air. The sky, once a pale, endless and unforgiving blue, begins to gather bruised-looking clouds on the distant horizon. The first drops of rain fall, large and heavy, striking the parched earth and releasing the rich, loamy scent of petrichor, the smell of life returning. The dry season's suffocating grip is broken. The rains, typically arriving around November, signal a profound and miraculous renewal across the entire Savuti ecosystem. The transformation is swift and dramatic. The dormant grasses, their life force held in reserve deep within their roots, spring to life, carpeting the plains in a vibrant, almost electric green. The Savuti Channel, fed by distant, unseen waters from the Angolan highlands, begins to swell, its flow creeping forward, replenishing the marsh and the scattered, life-sustaining waterholes. With the return of water and fresh grazing, the great migratory herds of zebra and wildebeest reverse their long journey. They stream back into the Savuti in their tens of thousands, their ranks now swollen with newborn calves, their presence transforming the silent plains into a landscape of sound and movement. The air fills with new sounds, the deep guttural chorus of giant African bullfrogs from the revitalized marsh and the whirring wings of vast flocks of sandgrouse making their morning pilgrimage to the water's edge, the males soaking their specialized belly feathers to carry water back to their distant chicks. Along the banks, the piercing cry of the African fish eagle echoes once more, its hunts again made possible by the rising, fish-filled water. The political landscape of the empire has been irrevocably altered. The marsh pride is now reconstituted under the firm rule of the new, powerful males. Kali, the ever-resilient queen, is now their consort. The pride, though scarred by the trauma of the takeover, will begin the crucial process of raising a new generation, their future secured for now by the formidable strength of their new protectors. To the south, Fura's hyena clan remains a formidable power, their numbers strong, their position as the lion's primary rival firmly cemented. They will continue to watch, to test, and to challenge, their influence a permanent check on the lion's absolute dominance. In the north, Asher's diminished pride has somehow survived, as has Safi and her lone son, their quiet endurance a silent victory against impossible odds. The painted wolf pack, though tragically reduced in number, begins the slow process of regrouping. Their unique cooperative bonds the key to their recovery and future success. In this time of renewal, it becomes possible to see the profound influence of the landscape's largest and most impactful architects, the elephants. Throughout the intense drama of the predators, they have been a constant presence, their own lives governed by the great cycle of the seasons. But they are more than just participants or prey, they are ecosystem engineers. Their foraging habits, pushing over trees to access the highest leaves, stripping bark from acacias and clearing wide paths through dense thickets, actively shape the habitat for every other creature. This seemingly destructive behavior creates a vital mosaic of open grassland and dense woodland, opening up areas for grazing animals, promoting plant diversity, and maintaining the very stage upon which the predator dramas unfold. They dig for water in dry riverbeds with their tusks and feet, creating oases that benefit countless other species. Their dung, rich in undigested seeds, disperses those seeds over vast distances, effectively planting the forests of the future. Their presence is so fundamental to the health of the ecosystem that their very success, their overabundance in parts of Botswana, is now a source of ecological concern, with their immense capacity for habitat modification threatening to unbalance the very system they help create. As the cycle of seasons comes full circle, a deeper truth about the Savuti Empire becomes clear. The concept of a single, stable kingdom with a permanent ruler is a human narrative, a story we impose upon a profoundly fluid and dynamic natural system. Power in Savuti is transient, as fleeting as a rainstorm in the Kalahari. The true ruler is the environment itself, primarily the cyclical flow and retreat of the channel's life-giving waters. The balance of power shifts predictably with this cycle. Lions may dominate in the wet season's abundance, but the hyenas gain a crucial advantage in the dry season's scarcity. No single entity, no matter how powerful, maintains absolute control for long. The rivalries, therefore, are not a flaw in the system or a simple contest for a throne. They are the system. The constant competition, the relentless push and pull between lion and hyena, the opportunistic existence of the leopard, the cooperative resilience of the wild dogs, all are different, equally valid strategies for survival in this immensely challenging environment. This perpetual conflict is the engine of natural selection, constantly testing individuals and bloodlines, ensuring that only the most adaptable, the strongest and the most resilient pass on their genes to the next generation. The unending contest, with all its harsh realities, is in fact the very mechanism that maintains the long-term health, the dynamism and the breathtaking vitality of the Savuti ecosystem. The empire is not defined by its kings, but by the enduring, unforgiving and beautiful cycle of rivalry and resilience.
Tourists come here looking for kings and kingdoms. They want to see the lion rule. But I tell them, the real king is the water. It comes, it goes. It crowns the lion in the wet season and the hyena in the dry. The animals are just actors in a much older play. The throne they fight for is just a temporary stage, and the water is the one that raises and lowers the curtain.